the DraftKings Daily Trot. I'm Jason Gilba, J Gilba 11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J Clay. Back with another 7-game slate here tonight, and it just seems like it's pretty much all offense. I mean, we got Coors, we got James Shields, we got Mike Pelfrey. I mean, you name it. There's definitely options tonight.
Yeah, this one's going to be a clash of the Titans. Mike Pelfrey versus James Shields. I wouldn't be surprised if they head into the 9-0-0.
Just for the sake of how baseball goes at times, it definitely could be possible.
Honestly,
a 2-1 game, like Tyler Saladino hits a solo home run, and then like Jared Saltalamacchia hits a 2-run homer. Like that's how it goes. It's awful.
Yeah. No, that's probably going to be what's going to happen, but all we can do is throw our chips in the table and know when to hold them, know when to fold them. There's an airplane going over my house right now.
What do you have, an airfield?
We're right near Westover Air Force Base. I'm sure you know where that is. That's very important.
Yeah, I have my map on my wall of all those Air Force bases, so I do that checks off.
I have a strange thing where I assume everyone knows about my like local history. Like I assumed everyone knew what Quabbin Reservoir was, but nobody outside of Western Mass even really knows what Quabbin Reservoir is. It was amazing when I found out that day.
And like I'm closer to Boston than you are, and like I'm not even near Western Mass. And I have no idea what you talk about most of the time.
Quabbin Reservoir provides your gosh darn water over there near Boston, pal.
I got a well out back.
Yeah, not you, Boston. But whatever. You know what? Whatever. All right, let's get into it. I don't want to deal with this crap anymore.
All right, Mr. Quabden, here we go. We got the Marlins and Phillies here. Gerard Eichhoff versus Tom Kohler. Two average right-handers. Eichhoff maybe a little bit better. For me, I mean, I'm not really intrigued with this game again in as far as an offensive standpoint. I mean, you can probably get me to look at some of the lefties in this game. I do think Yelich at that high price tag is worthy of a look, even in GPPs, and probably Odubel Herrera as well. But the price tags are a little higher than I like.
A little higher than I like as well. I think you can go with Stanton again. I mean, that price is pretty reasonable for him. But at the same time, this game isn't all that appealing compared to some of the other games on this slate. So you could be contrarian in this game, but at the same time, it's kind of like, there's really no need.
Yeah,
I don't think we need to break out the Marlins guns tonight.
No, I don't think so either. And I don't even think the Phillies, with the guns that they have,
Tommy Gun Joseph.
I don't know. I mean, you could probably get me behind a Cameron Rupp at 3.8. I think that's probably my guy. Tommy Joseph, I mean.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how I feel about the Phillies in general. But decent matchup tonight, but I'm not in. This game, I don't think.
No, me either. The prices are too closely to other guys I like.
Yeah.
Brewers Pirates here next. Francisco Liriano versus Matt Garza. And for me, I mean, I kind of like Liriano as a GPP option. I'm not really on a lot of the Brewers bats, but obviously, I mean, if you want to be contrarian and want to work some of those guys in, I don't mind it because there are some right-handed bats that do hit lefties well.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely like that lineup. It's kind of a little all over the place, but at the same time, I'm in.
You're in on Milwaukee tonight?
Yeah.
GPPs or just cash or cash or GPPs?
GPPs, but I do think there is some upside here. Again, we've seen Liriano with a blowout factor multiple times this year. Walk rate's high, so while he does have some extra strikeout upside, I'm not really looking at him as a serious option. So I think we can go sort of look at these righties as home run power, kind of like yesterday.
Yeah, I think you can too. I mean, at their price tags, you really like them. I mean, outside of Villar, they're all very reasonable. And all kind of step down guys from Coors. And as you mentioned, I mean, Liriano has had that blowout factor. Righties have had better success off of him this season, not missing as many bats. So I think the Brewers are certainly in play for GPPs. And as far as the Pirates side of things go, I think for me, they're playable in all formats. But of course, when you got Polanco at 5.2 and Marte at 5.5 in comparison to the Coors outfielders of Blackman and Cargo, I think they're kind of off the map and will be contrarian.
Yeah, definitely, and hopefully, I didn't. I only had one share of Locke last night, but hopefully, me and Gold Standard were talking yesterday. Hopefully, he stayed off. I told him to stay off. I told him this was something that I needed to do on my own, kind of like the Derek Holland day. I hope he listened. If you didn't, I'm sorry, bud. That was a traumatic experience that I wanted to go through on my own.
I mean, he could have just looked at my reaction to when you said I'll have a Jeff Locke share and just okay, you know.
And
Jason,
like the panic, like scurrying around I did after I said it, I was like, but yeah, well.
yeah, he had a couple strikeouts in the first couple innings, and then that was it.
It all came crashing down.
You look at Matt Garza here. I mean, you go back to last year. I mean, not a very successful arm, 366 WOBA allowed to lefties. I mean, you got like Gregory Polanco in that matchup. And even against right-handers, 357 WOBA, home runs per nine's up. So I don't mind the Pirates. I don't mind them working them in and out of other stacks. I think they're a good piece tonight, but obviously the price tags are a little bit higher, really outside of Jason McCutcheon in the top of that lineup.
Yeah, I think we can roll with McCutcheon again. Obviously not what you wanted last night, but I think we can go with that again and feel pretty comfortable at that price.
Yeah, and I don't even mind some of those back-end options. I don't mind the Freeze, Cervelli, Harrison value that they're going to give you in 5, 6, 7. I really don't mind that. On a slate like tonight where maybe you need to toss in a Harrison at second base to kind of afford an Arenado, Blackman-type lineup, you know?
Right, agreed.
So, Twins and Red Sox here, Tyler Duffy versus Steven Wright. And Red Sox projected for nearly 6 runs yet again, facing Tyler Duffy. And the thing about Duffy, I mean, he's been a guy who's been relatively tough on left-handers. I'm not exactly, staying away from Ortiz again, but I think I kind of like maybe spending down. I mean, obviously Hanley coming off a monster night, he's probably going to be a little bit popular at 3.8, but if you look, I mean, the matchup-wise, Duffy has been hit harder by right-handed bats, so I could see just arguably playing Hanley over him solely just not even based on last night or kind of using a Freddie Freeman. But obviously Ortiz is in play.
Yeah, he's definitely in play. Obviously, you just look at his splits for 2016, and they're just off the charts against righties. So I think that kind of averages out any reverse splits that Duffy has. But at the same time, you do have to take into account that Duffy hasn't been just like most righties bad against lefties. So, yeah, definitely a good point taken there. Hanley, I mean, pretty nice price though. So I think that is a legitimate swerve again. And I mean, I'm still in on this Red Sox lineup. Obviously last night didn't quite work out with Ortiz, but the rest of the lineup really came through. So, I think we're right in line for another game like that again. So I'm definitely looking at them in potentially cash situations.
Yeah, I am too. And for me, I mean, Mookie Betts is a guy who, if and when I do swerve off of Coors outfielders like Cargo and Blackman and still want to pay for a high price outfielder, Betts is going to be my guy. Just because you do look at Duffy, I mean, 355 WOBA allowed to righties, 1.60 home runs per 9. So for me, I really like the front three there. Dustin Pedroia, Bogarts. I think Pedroia is an interesting spinoff of LeMahieu. I mean, Pedroia has a higher ISO this season than LeMahieu does totally. Obviously, LeMahieu in that Coors factor, but
yeah,
I like the front three quite a bit.
Definitely.
As far as the Twins go, attacking them with Steven Wright is obviously it's an option tonight. I do think it's a contrarian option. I'm not really all aboard. I think Twins are kind of better against fastball type pitchers, not really those finesse guys. So I'm not too intrigued, but obviously you can look at some of these guys like a Miguel Sano at 4K and try and hope he kind of gets a hold of one. Even same with Dozier at 3.3. I don't mind some of the pop that they have, but obviously the floor is pretty close to zero on this slate for the Twins.
I won't say that we're a pro Steven Wright podcast, but we're certainly not an anti Steven Wright podcast. I think he has our respect at this stage. Obviously, hasn't been what we wanted him to be the last 3 or 4 starts, giving up some extra runs and stuff like that. But at the same time, like you said, tournament sort of one-offs in this lineup. Definitely Sano, Dozier, players like that. I think you can definitely use those in tournaments and feel good about it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. So definitely could be a game to really overall target, and I mean more so on the Boston side.
Right.
Cardinals and Padres here. Adam Wainwright versus Andrew Kashner, and for me, I mean Wainwright's my number one pitching option, so I'm not using any Padres. I think GPPs and cash games, Wainwright's going to be a staple for me. With that being said, I really can't get behind any of these guys, just given how Wainwright's been pitching of late.
Yeah, I think this is a night to really look at the Cardinals here in all facets. Wainwright obviously been borderline dominant of late, really recaptured sort of what we remember of him, So definitely not the early season pace he was setting. Back up to a pretty reasonable price. So I'd fire away with him in cash. Nice to get a pitcher like him on a 7-game slate. So in terms of the Padres, no. In terms of the Cardinals, though, pretty reasonable prices, I think.
They're a little higher than I still like. I don't know. They always kind of rank maybe third or fourth to me on an offense, but they're always kind of priced just like the rest of them. So they kind of fall off a little bit for me. I mean, 5K Diaz in comparison to a 4-3 Bogarts or a 5-2 Story. They just kind of get priced around a lot of guys. I mean, Grichuk's more expensive than I would like, leaving off at 4-5. The only guy I can maybe get behind here is Matt Adams at 3-5 for a value play, just because Kashner, since last year, is a lot of 368 woba to lefties. I don't mind that if I'm paying down at first base. And obviously, I think Holiday's price tag at 3.6 is intriguing too.
You're not in on a 3-4-5 little stack there, Piscotty, Holiday, Adams?
Yeah, you could get me with Piscotty and add him in there, but I don't find myself paying the Diaz price tag or even going with the Grichuk. I mean, obviously,
that's fair. That's fair.
A Cardinals team is certainly in play. They're in a good spot against Kashner, but prices considered, I think I'm just kind of leaning other directions.
Okay, yeah. So that's more of a tournament option. I agree. But at the same time, there's quite a bit of upside against Kashner there.
Yeah, definitely there is. Detroit and White Sox, and this was kind of another one where I was hinting at some better prices, and really on both sides here, you got to like your chances. And against James Shields, I mean, you get a Victor Martinez at 3.5, who, yes, he's struggling of late, but I'm hoping that kind of keeps his ownership low. And you look at Shields, I mean, since last year, 371 to woba to lefties, and a significant discount here from Cabrera, about 900 cheaper. So for me, I like Vmart as a value first baseman tonight.
Yeah, I agree. And those struggles will definitely have people swerving to Cabrera. So I do like that. You get the lefty versus righty. You get Shields, who has sort of recovered, but it's still there. The blow-up factor is still there for sure. So I do like that. I mean, even a Cameron Maybin, 37. We've seen this Tigers team already beat him up this year. So I am pretty confident in this Tigers lineup tonight. I think they're potentially a cash option with some of these prices, maybe in Martinez, and then maybe throw in a higher end option like a Kinsler or Castellanos. So I think you can definitely figure something like that out.
Yeah, definitely. And on the White Sox side of things, I mean, I didn't play the early slate yesterday, but they got to Felix Hernandez. I mean, Melky Cabrera nearly hit for the cycle. Todd Frazier's on fire since the All-Star break. For me, I mean, I do think this White Sox team could be something tonight, and against Mike Pelfrey, who's coming off a horrible start against the Royals and just gets hit hard by both sides of the plate. I like a lot of the value. I'm not going to go probably all in on a stack here, but I do think I'm going to be working off guys like Melky Cabrera into a lot of my other lineups, and maybe even pivoting off of those top guys at third base for a Todd Frazier.
Yeah, this is kind of a night. I think this whole lineup's in play for me. I could see this whole lineup pretty much knocking around Pelfrey early and often. You look at sort of the Cabrera Frazier sort of grouping there. I really like that. And I mean, I even like some of the later guys against him. So the WOB is just out of control for Pelfrey this year. I think I think this is a nice value stack type of lineup.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And as far as the Braves Rockies go here next, we're in Coors. Um, I'm not jumping all over this game. I mean, I'm definitely going to have my share of Rockies bats. I'm not really on putting the Braves in. I mean, obviously Freddie Freeman deserves the most praise here, given he's the top quality bat from this Braves offense. And you look at Bettis. I mean, he's worse off against righties, but he's not bad against lefties either. So I mean, 324 Woba is kind of average, keeps the ball in the park, but obviously, I mean, Freddie Freeman, I do think is in play, and kind of whoever they work into that top of the lineup. I mean, maybe a Peterson, maybe a Desarnaud, as some of those value guys. I mean, some of those prices aren't that bad. So I'm really just limiting myself to the top four. I mean, maybe a punt play like AJ Pierzynski at 3-2. It's going to be one of those things where I need to see that lineup when it comes out to see what's happening.
Yeah, because I'm not going to be in on Adonis Garcia or Ender Incarte at 4,700 each. So I don't think I'm going to be going for that. But yeah, like you mentioned, the top four, maybe a Pierzynski, something like that, and Freeman borderline cash. But it is the Braves, so that wouldn't surprise me if they got shut down in Coors. It's not like that'd be shocking.
Yeah, I mean, in shutdown, I mean, maybe they do put up 4 or 5 runs.
Three or four runs, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not great. So I'm looking more so on the Rockies side of things. I mean, Fultonowitz did have a good start against Rockies, but it was in Turner Field. You go back to last year, I mean, 387 Woba to lefties, 2.13 home runs per 9. Righties, 336 Woba, 1.47 home runs per 9. So
yeah,
you got to like Blackman, you got to like Arenado, you got to like Cargo, Story. LeMahieu, 4,100. I mean, I don't know. He's kind of lost my appeal. I mean, obviously he's still in play, but I don't know. He's kind of just been borderline average. I mean, at times this year.
I guess the question is, do we think we can fit a 1, 3, 4, 5 stack in a lineup and conceivably fill it out reasonably? Or
I think so.
I think so too. On this slate, especially. I mean, it's not like there's a Arrieta or Chris Sale or something. So I would try to get a Wainwright with that 1, 3, 4, 5 in that lineup and see if it works, and maybe fit a few punts in.
I think remotely you're going to have to go down to a Sonny Gray or even a Tom Kohler of some sort. Just due to that SP2 spot. I mean, there's no really any other pay up option anyway outside of Stephen Wright, but that definitely won't be able to happen.
Right. So I think you could figure out some fun combinations there. But at the same time, if you can only fit 3, I think that's still maybe knock Story out and just go with Arenado, Cargo, and Blackman. I mean, that's a really strong grouping there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. A's and Rays, next one here, Sonny Gray versus Matt Moore. I'm definitely more so on the A side of things. The Rays prices are really close to kind of what Chicago is, so I kind of see myself leaning more there. But obviously, a Logan Forsythe at 3-3 is kind of great value, even though he is facing righty. But I mean, leading off 3-3 Forsythe, he hasn't been bad against right-handers this year.
Yeah, I do like that at that price. Gray's obviously been a non-ace this year, so I think you can reasonably throw him in and feel pretty confident. I don't know about cash, but in that gray area.
Well done, well done. So you're saying this Rays team is in that gray area tonight.
Leaving it at that. No, I'm just gonna not talk anymore.
As far as Oakland goes, I mean, I like them more so here than the Rays. I like some of those prices. I mean, obviously, you got some guys who hit lefties really well, and Matt Moore, I mean, 343 Woba allowed since last year to right-handers, 1.45 home runs per 9. I think you got to like a Marcus Semien in a GPP fashion. The price tag's high, but there is a lot of power from him against lefties, and the Valencia, Chris Davis, Jake Smolinski reign is much more easy to kind of accommodate in your lineup. So I don't like mixing them in once again with other stacks. I think the A's are a great team to kind of finish off the night there.
Totally agree. I really like Semien tonight. Obviously, he's overpriced, but if anything, that kind of gets his ownership a little lower. Him and Valencia and Chris Davis, like you mentioned, those are the 3 I'm looking at, and I think there's a very reasonable shot that one of them hits a homer. So I'd definitely be mixing up my exposure there. And
what a bold take you have, man! Bold take.
I mean, getting a homer is not easy there, pal.
I know, but it's just funny.
What I'm saying is, I think you can sort of hedge your exposure with them in your tournament lineups, and sort of one of them's gonna hit for sure. Is what I'm saying. Is that a little bolder? For sure, there will be a home run from one of them tonight.
Well, I mean,
Guaranteed.
you're certainly not going to be replacing Skip Bayless with those hot takes, but it's reasonable.
and LeBron isn't as good as Jordan either.
Okay, well,
there you go.
That one's played out.
There you go. There you go. That's the one. And Tim Tebow is a really good quarterback, and he won a playoff game.
Okay, that's where we're going to end it here. That's going to wrap things up here with the DraftKings Daily Trot. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all great tools and content.